Hey guys, welcome to this session by Intellipaat. So in this session, we'll be learning AWS EMR, which is also called AWS Elastic MapReduce. So EMR is used for big data services, and you can host big data services on AWS without having to do a lot of setup. So in this session, we'll be looking into that. And before moving on with this session, please subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our upcoming videos. Now let's look into the agenda. We'll start off with what is Amazon EMR or AWS EMR. Once that is done, we'll be looking into the benefits of AWS EMR compared to a traditional setup of Hadoop. After that, we'll be looking into the architecture of EMR as well as the operations which you can perform on it. Once that is done, we'll do a hands-on where we'll launch a default and an advanced cluster. After that, we'll be looking into the EMR applications, and finally we'll end it with a hands-on where we connect Spark using AWS EMR. Also guys, if you're looking for an end-to-end AWS Big Data certification, we do provide that, and you can check those details in the description. Now let's begin with the session.
So first of all, EMR is called Elastic MapReduce, and it is a managed cluster platform. So this will simplify big data frameworks. So let's say you want to run Hadoop on the cloud. So instead of running a server, downloading Hadoop in that and configuring every single step, you can just go ahead with Amazon EMR. Just type in the name of your cluster, choose the softwares, choose the big data tools which you need. Once you've done that, you can give how many nodes you want, that is the master and slaves. So let's say one master, two slaves, you can have that. Once you mention that, you'll have to provide a role, and that's it. You'll just have to click on create cluster and it'll do the rest for you. So that's how simple Amazon EMR is. Now let's look into the benefits of Amazon EMR. So first of all, if you look into this, there is cost efficient. So that, as I told, you'll just have to pay as you go. Then allows AWS integration. You can integrate it with other AWS services. Then comes easy deployment. As I told you, you'll just have to give in few details and hit click. It'll automatically do that. And then comes scalable and flexible. So as I told you, there is auto scaling available. And also it is flexible because you can terminate it. You can stop it whenever you want. It is reliable because they provide you an SLA of 99.9%, which basically means it never goes down. It is always on. And then secure. So obviously AWS provides you a lot of security features. You can use IAM, which is for identity and access management, where you give permissions to users. If they have the permission, they'll be able to use this particular service, EMR. If they don't have the permissions, they'll not be able to use it. And then easy to monitor. So there is a service called CloudWatch. So it is automatically integrated with all the AWS services. So you don't have to even do anything. You can get the metrics automatically. Finally, easy management. You're not going to manage anything. You're not going to patch anything. You're not going to add any code. You're not going to debug it. Everything will be taken care by AWS. You'll just have to set it up, and that's it. So we've seen the benefits as well. Then the EMR architecture. So how exactly it is hosted in the cloud? So that would be your question, right? So let's say in your local system, you would have the Hadoop ecosystem, because you'll be downloading it, and then you'll install it, you will configure it, you will set it up. In the cloud, it is almost the same architecture. So you can see that EMR architecture remains identical to the normal Hadoop cluster architecture. Local file systems of the nodes, HDFS or EMRFS, are used as storage nodes for EMR. So you can use the local file systems of the nodes, that is local file systems in the sense, the local file systems which is hosted in the cloud. So that local file system is basically Amazon S3. So S3 is the backend for HDFS. So as I told you, S3 is used for storage. So S3 is also used for storing that is storing files in it. So using the EMR file system, that is EMRFS, Amazon EMR extends Hadoop to add the ability to directly access data stored in Amazon S3. It is not that you'll have to push the data into HDFS and then you'll have to analyze it. Instead, you can store the data in Amazon S3 itself, and directly from S3, so directly from S3, you will be able to query and analyze the data. Most often, Amazon S3 is used to store input and output data, and also the results are stored in HDFS. So these are the temporary files are basically stored in HDFS. The input data and the output data both are stored in S3. So this is how it basically works, guys. It's pretty simple. It's a cluster format. If you know about the big data services, it is the same architecture on AWS as well. So if you don't know the architecture, I tell you, so I ask you to go and please go and check that out. Check out HDFS, check out Hadoop, check out MapReduce and all that. So once you get an idea of that, you will get an idea of how it is hosted on the cloud, because it's similar. So let's say it will have a backend server running, and in that backend server Hadoop will be installed, configured, and everything would be set up over there. And once that is set up, guys, Amazon S3, it is pretty simple. I'll show you how to start up with that as well, and then you will be able to set up whatever service you want: Hive, Hadoop, Spark, HBase, anything. So this is the basic architecture. Okay, so the main processing frameworks available for EMR is Hadoop, MapReduce, and Spark. So one more thing, the most popular frameworks are Hadoop and Spark. There are other frameworks which you can use on EMR as well, but the most popular ones are Hadoop and Spark. Okay, so now EMR applications, that is, what are the other applications available on EMR? As I told you, you can see over here, it supports many applications: Hive, Pig, Spark, streaming platform. It supports Yarn, it supports Hue, it supports mostly all the Apache products, that is the Hadoop ecosystem products. So you can go ahead and look into that more. So we'll not be covering this a lot. Now next I'll be doing a hands-on using Hive on EMR. So let's do that. So in addition, Amazon EMR also supports open source projects that have their own cluster management functionality instead of using Yarn. So instead of using Yarn, if you're using your own resource management, then that is also fine. So EMR allows that as well. Okay, guys. So we've seen that. So now let's do an hands-on on Amazon. So this is basically a getting to know session. So you will get to know how to start off with AWS and AWS Big Data. So first of all, to start off with this, you will need an AWS account. So I suggest you to get an AWS account soon and start practicing, because this session will be available in our YouTube channel and you can go through with that. Okay, so right now I'm already in the EMR console. I have logged in and it's pretty simple, and you can just search EMR over here and click here and you'll be inside the EMR. Yeah, so I'm here. So just 1 second, I'll have to show you S3. Okay, first of all, let's create a bucket here. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a bucket to get our output. So our output will be stored in the bucket we are going to create. So this is very simple. Click on create bucket, provide a name. So let me give as YouTube live webinar 1. And I'm going to just create. I'm not going to set up anything. I'm just going to create this. So it is this simple to start a bucket. So a bucket is basically a repository or a folder where all the files are stored. So it's pretty simple, guys. You'll just have to remember that. So a bucket is basically a folder where you can store all kinds of files. It may be video, audio, all kinds of binary files can be stored here. So we've created a bucket. So you can see there's an upload option as well, but we're not going to upload anything over here right now because this bucket is for our output. Okay, now let's start with EMR. But before starting off with EMR, I'll just get a file. 1 second. Yeah, so the file is over here. Just a second, I'll just close these. Yeah, okay, cool. So we're going to create a cluster. So while creating a cluster, I'll be explaining that. So first of all, to start off with EMR, get yourself an AWS account, but there is no free tier in EMR. So there will be a small charge. It will be around, let's say, $0.04, something like that. It'll be a very small amount. So you can go ahead with that. But make sure that you terminate your cluster immediately. So just a second, guys. I'll just get some water. Okay, guys, let's start off with this. So create cluster. So first of all, to start off with EMR, as I told you, get an account. Then you can start off with this. Then come to Amazon EMR, go to clusters, click on create cluster. Okay, so now it's the simple setup. It's very, very simple. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, give your cluster a name. I'm going to name it as webinar cluster. Okay, and then let logging be on. Logging in the sense, whatever happens, the setup, the, let's say, the configuration, everything will be loaded and it will be stored in this folder. So it will be stored in this folder in S3. So let it be. That's fine. Next, coming down. So this is going to be cluster. We are going to start with a cluster and software configuration. So this is where you'll have to choose, guys. So here you can see core Hadoop, that is Hadoop, Hive, Hue, Mahout, Pig, and Tez. So anyway, we are going to only use Hive. So I'm going to choose first one. Then there is for HBase, Presto, and Spark. If you want more options, if you want to choose multiple services, you can click on go to advanced options. And so, and you can see here, you get to see all the available applications. You can choose whatever application you want, example, TensorFlow, Zookeeper, if there is Kafka, then there is Flink, Tez. You can choose whichever you want, and then you can set it up. But right now, we're going to go with quick options because it's easier to understand at the start. So it was the same. So I'm not going to change anything. And so you can see, yeah. So I'm going to go with core Hadoop. And this is the most basic instance type in EMR. So let it be. And the number of instances are going to be 3. There will be 1 master and 2 core nodes, which is basically 1 master, 2 slaves. So that will be a master slave architecture. And then I'm going to choose an EC2 key pair. Anyway, we're not going to use this. But if you want to log into the Hadoop system and check out what is happening inside of it, you will need this. But anyway, we're not going to open it. But still, I'm showing you. So key pair, you can learn about the key pairs and how to log in with a key pair from our other AWS tutorials in our YouTube channel. You can check that out. Okay, so this is my key pair, and choose a permission. I'm going to go with default because it's already configured, as we'll be taking the data of pushing the data into S3. So I'm going to go with this. Yeah. Okay, so now you can see this, and if I hit create cluster, it will start. But I'm not going to do, because I'm going to go and do this exact same thing in advanced options. I think I understood this part. If I click create cluster, it will create a cluster. So there is one small step in this. That is, we'll have to mention the input data and the output folder where the result has to be stored. So I'm not going to make any changes. It is going to be the exact same configuration. I'm not going to change anything. The only change we'll be making is adding a step. So our step would be a Hive program, because that's what we're going to do. We are going to include a Hive script. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click add step. Okay, so you can see script S3 location. So we'll have to provide the location of where the script is available. Then we'll have to provide the S3 location of the input files. And then we'll have to provide the output location, which we created. Okay, and an argument. Okay, so that is fine. Coming down. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. So if you want to check out this, you can just go ahead with the documentation provided by AWS for Amazon EMR. So this is one of the tutorials they provide. So this is the script link. So the script is over here. I'll explain to you about this. This is the script. This is the script link. and this is the input folder. So as you can see, this is the input folder of the S3 bucket, and inside this bucket there is a sub file called CloudFront. Inside that there is a sub file called code, and inside that there is the script file. Okay, that is fine. And then there is the input. Okay, and this is basically a command which AWS told to add in the argument section, so that if there is any keyword mismatch, it will automatically take care of it. Okay, that is fine. Next, coming to summary. So this is the script which will be running in Hive. Okay, so you can see this, and this is pretty much it. What exactly we are doing right now. So this sample shows you how to analyze CloudFront logs stored in S3 using Hive. So we are using Hive on EMR to analyze logs which are generated from CloudFront, but we are not going to do anything in CloudFront. That logs are already stored in S3, but not in mine, in AWS's official sample repository. So we are going to take that data, push it into Hive, and once it is in Hive, this script will run. This script will process the data and give us the output, and we can download it and check the acquired results. So to check that, first of all, you'll have to set it up. And before that, you can see over here, you'll have, so this script is creating a table. So it's creating a date. It's you can see local time, location, bytes, host, OS, and browser. So what we're going to do is we are just going to get the count of the OS inputs. So coming down, you can see total requests per operating system for a given time frame. So what result we are going to get is, for example, there is Mac OS, there is Windows, there is Ubuntu, then there is Android. So all of that operating systems. So let's say in CloudFront, there is an application running. CloudFront is basically CDN. Okay. So there is so let's forget about that. Let's just concentrate on this. There is an application running, guys. So that application could be accessed from all kinds of operating systems, from a Windows system, from a Mac system that is an Apple laptop, or from an iPhone, from a Safari browser, which is an iOS. Then there is Ubuntu, then there is Android. So that application could be accessed from all these operating systems. So the output we'll be getting is how many hits were from each Windows or Mac or any operating system. So the output would be the operating system and the number of hits this particular application got from that operating system. So this data is already available, so it's not going to be dynamically changing. It is static data. Okay, so I think I've explained to you this part. Now let us start off with configuring this. So first of all, I'll have to provide the S3 location. So this is the S3 location. So I'm going to provide this. Done. Next is the S3 input location, which is this. I'm going to provide this. Next would be our output S3 location. So for this, we can search over here. And this is the bucket which should contain our output files. So I'm going to click it, select. Okay, next is the argument. I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. Just a second, guys. I'll just get some water. Yeah. So now this action on failure is, if this particular code or this particular process fails, it should continue and create this particular cluster, or you can cancel and wait. So basically the cluster will be stopped and then terminate cluster. If this particular what is this script we are running fails, then this cluster will be automatically terminated if you give terminate cluster. But I'm not going to give that. I'm going to give continue. If this step fails, our cluster will still be active. So that's what it means. So now I'm clicking on add. And you can see we've set this up. That is the only extra step. I'm just going to give next, next. I'm not going to change anything. Yeah, so you can review it once. So you can see it is proceed without an EC2 keeper. I'm going to give my keeper and create cluster. So guys, it will take from 5 to 10 minutes to create this. So you can see the steps over here. You can see first this step will be completed. That is, the setup will be completed. Then Hadoop and debugging, everything will be completed. Once that is done, the Hive program will start running within the cluster. Once that is done, we'll be able to see our output in this particular bucket. So if I open this bucket right now, you'll not be able to see. Let me just refresh. Yeah, so I'm inside the bucket. So right now there are no files inside this bucket. Once this is done, we'll be able to see that. So as I told you, it'll take some time. So let me click on clusters. Here you can see I already had a cluster which I terminated. So you can see it is my cluster because once I went into advanced options, I did not change the cluster's name. So it was my cluster only. So it's the same. It is right now starting. And once we see complete over here, then this process will start. And once this is complete, this process will start. And only then we'll be able to see the output. So then we'll download the file and see the output, guys. So I think that's clear right now. So this process is still starting. So as I told you, it'll take from 5 to 10 minutes to this getting completed. The thing is, we added a step before we launched. You can also add a step once it is set up. So you can see here, you can also add you can also add a step once you've created your cluster. You can choose a pig program, a hive, a streaming program, or a custom jar program. So if I want to add another hive program, it's again the same setup, and you can do that. Okay, so we've seen this, it's still starting, so there is nothing else to do over here. Going back, one more thing, guys. If you're watching this live right now, if you're in this in this webinar, if you want to take up any course from us, use the code YouTube30 and you'll get an instant 30% discount. And okay, so while doing this, I'll also explain the other things about this cluster, because there is no need to waste your time as well, because it's everybody's precious time over here. Okay, so coming to hardware, you can see this because we wanted to launch 3 instances. One is one is a master instance, 2 core instances. You can see the 2 core instances are created. The master instance is currently under creation. And so right now we have not enabled any scaling policy. Let me explain to you about the scaling policy. So it is basically for auto scaling. Click on edit, come down. So you can see enable cluster scaling, use EMR named scaling. So come over here. EMR will automatically increase and decrease the number of instances in core and task nodes based on workload. So if the workload increases, it will automatically increase the number of instances. If the workload decreases, it will automatically decrease the number of instances. Okay, let me close this. I'm seeing running over here. Yeah. So the instances are running, guys. So you can check out the steps over here as well. You can see the instances are running, but the steps are still pending. So now this step has completed. So once the instance is run, it got set up in 4 seconds. If you want to check out this logs, just click over here. So right now there are no logs. So once the log is created, you can just refresh and see over here, and that logs will be available in S3, and you can go check out those logs. But this step is still running. And now it is completed, guys. So let's go over here, refresh this, and hope that we get an output. And we got an output. So let me open this folder and let me download this. Okay, sorry, that's not the folder which we want to download. We can download that, or we can go inside and download this. So the thing is, we have 2 nodes. So why do we have 2 nodes is that we'll be splitting work and giving it to each instance. That is, the half or some of the work will be given to the first instance, and some of the work will be given to the second instance. So you see 2 files over here. So this file would have been processed in the first instance. This file would have been processed in the second instance. So now let's download. Sorry, I think that's not possible. Let me click. download the first one, click and download. Sorry, I downloaded it multiple times. Okay, so we've downloaded it. I'll go to the folder. So as I told you, the output would be uh, the OS name and the number of hits. And you can see this. Let me open this as well. Yeah. Okay, I think you're able to see right now. You can see Android 855 hits, Windows 883 hits, Linux 813, Mac 852, OS X, which is for the Apple laptops, MacBooks. So it's 799, and in iOS it's 794. So we've got the files, guys, over here. So this actually means that our program ran successfully. We created a hive. We created an EMR cluster successfully. We ran a hive program on it, and we also got an output. The thing is, this file is very small. That's why we got an output in less than a minute. But if your file is very, very large and it takes a lot of time to process, then obviously it will take around 10 to 15 minutes according to the size of your file. And sometimes it can also take hours, because you might have, let's say, petabytes of data. Okay, so we've come to the end of this session. So going back over here, we have successfully created the cluster. We ran a hive program, and both of the steps have succeeded. Let me just click here. Yeah, so both of the steps have been succeeded. So it is waiting because right now there is no process running. If you want to add a process, you can click on step and add another program to run your program and process data. So you can do that. You can see all the interactive jobs over here. If there is any current job running, you can see the job. So for example, we were running this hive program. So while running, we could have seen that job over here. So the thing is, this cluster can be shared among other users in my AWS account, so that all of them can run a job at the same time, and we can check all the jobs running over here. So I think that's pretty much it. So it's pretty simple to start off with this. It's pretty simple to create a cluster, run your own program with your own input data set. The thing is, while running the hive program, we gave an input data link. So instead of providing that link, you could provide your own data set, and you could provide your own hive script, and you could provide your own output location. So output location is pretty simple. You can just give any location which you want, but the input script and the input data location should be provided, and that's it. It will automatically run the script and get your data processed. You can download the upload and take the data and do whatever you want with it.
Okay guys, a quick info. If you're looking for an end-to-end AWS Big Data Specialty certification, Intellipaat does provide that certification training, and you can check those details in the description. Okay guys, we've come to the end of the session. I hope this session was helpful and informative. If you have any doubts or queries regarding this session, please leave a comment below, and we'll love to help you out. Thank you.